Welcome to our deep dive into the world of on-demand color label printing. We're going to be looking at the Epson ColorWorks C8000e. We've got a whole bunch of sources here from like marketing materials, the tech specs, a user manual, even hands-on demo from a trade show. So get ready for a pretty colorful journey, I think.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting to see how much this technology is impacting businesses across all sorts of different industries. It's not just about sticking a label on something anymore. It's about communication,
Yeah.
branding,
Yep.
creating a memorable experience.
It seems like printing these labels on demand and in full color is becoming less of a nice to have and more of a must have. What's driving this shift?
Well, there are several mega trends that are kind of converging at the moment, particularly in Europe. Sustainability is a huge one. Consumers are demanding eco-friendly practices,
Right.
and on-demand printing eliminates a lot of that waste that's associated with pre-printed labels.
Yeah.
Think about it. No more outdated labels sitting in a warehouse. No more throwing out entire rolls when maybe a design needs a little tweak.
Yeah, that makes sense. And the sources highlight some impressive potential for reducing those CO2 emissions, too.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For every 1 million wine labels that are printed on demand, that's like a ton of CO2 savings.
Yeah.
Now, scale that up to some industries like chemicals, where the labels are even bigger and the quantities are even greater, and the impact is significant, like potentially 8 tons of CO2 per million labels.
That's a powerful argument for sustainability. But let's be honest, businesses, they care about their bottom line as well. Can on-demand printing actually save them money?
Oh, absolutely. By printing only what they need when they need it, businesses can cut the cost of storing and managing large label inventories.
Okay.
No more tying up capital in labels that might become obsolete or dealing with that headache of trying to get rid of unused stock.
So it's about streamlining those operations and reducing waste, both physical and financial.
Precisely. And this actually ties in with another key trend, personalization. Consumers these days are looking for those products that feel tailor-made to them. On-demand printing lets businesses customize labels for individual customers, special promotions, or even specific events. Imagine getting a package with a label that has your name on it or a message that's thanking you for the purchase.
Oh, that would definitely make an impression. It's like getting a handwritten note instead of a generic form letter.
Exactly. It's those little touches that can make a big difference in building that brand loyalty.
Yeah.
And, let's not forget about the ability to create labels with like variable data, like unique serial numbers or barcodes. And this is essential for tracking products, managing inventory, and, making sure everything's good quality.
It sounds like on-demand printing is particularly well suited for industries where those labeling needs are constantly changing. The sources mention this concept called best fit mapping, which helps identify those sweet spots.
Yeah, best fit mapping is all about recognizing where on-demand printing really shines. Think about labeling those e-liquid bottles, each one with like a slightly different flavor profile or a different nicotine strength.
Right.
Or you've got a food producer who's got to label perishable goods with very specific expiration dates.
Right.
In these situations, using pre-printed labels would be a logistical nightmare.
It sounds like it.
It would be.
Yeah. I'm starting to see the bigger picture here. On-demand printing, it's not just a cool new technology, it's a strategic tool.
Yeah,
Something that can help businesses adapt to those evolving market demands, really enhance their branding, and operate more efficiently.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And one printer that embodies this shift is the Epson ColorWorks C8000e.
Yeah.
It's designed to really meet the needs of businesses that demand both high quality and flexibility when it comes to their labeling.
Okay, let's dive into the C8000E itself. I'm curious about the print quality. The specs mention speeds up to 300 millimeters per second. That's at a resolution of 1200 by 600 dpi. Can you translate that into real-world terms for us?
Imagine printing labels with the crispness of, say, a magazine photo, but at the speed of a receipt printer. That's what you get with the C8000E.
Wow.
Yeah, it's designed to produce professional-looking labels quickly, even for those designs with, small text or intricate details.
So no more sacrificing quality for speed then. That's pretty impressive. But how does Epson ensure that level of quality across every single label?
Well, they've incorporated some pretty clever technology. The PrecisionCore printhead is built for long-term reliability and that consistent output.
Okay.
And then they have something called nozzle verification technology, or NVT,
Okay.
that acts like a spell checker for your printhead.
Huh.
Yeah, constantly monitoring the nozzles to prevent any misprints from those clogged nozzles or dead pixels.
So it's like having a built-in quality control system, working behind the scenes, catching all those little errors that can lead to, you know, wasted labels and a lot of frustration.
Yeah.
That's a win. That's definitely a win.
And speaking of avoiding waste, the C8000E uses those large 480 milliliter ink pouches instead of those individual cartridges.
Oh, okay.
This means less plastic waste and fewer interruptions for having to change the ink during those big print jobs.
That's good for the environment and good for productivity as well.
For sure.
They also use those UltraChrome DL pigment inks, which are known for their durability. The sources mention that they're even certified for BS 5609. What does that mean exactly?
ES 5609 is a British standard that tests the durability of labels in harsh marine environments. It's a really tough test,
Yeah.
exposing the labels to saltwater, abrasion, and UV radiation. So labels that meet this standard, you can basically guarantee they're going to withstand the elements.
So if you're printing labels for products that will be shipped overseas, stored outdoors, exposed to extreme conditions, the C8000E can handle it.
Exactly. It's about knowing your labels are going to stay legible and intact no matter what they go through.
Okay, I'm looking at the media flexibility here. Glossy, matte, textured paper. This thing seems to be able to print on just about anything.
Pretty much, yeah.
It even has an adjustable platen gap, which I learned is crucial for handling thicker media like price tags.
You got it. Think of the platen gap as the space between the print head and the platen, which is that roller that feeds the media through the printer.
Okay.
By adjusting this gap, you can make sure that those thicker materials pass through smoothly without jamming or causing problems with the print quality.
So it's like adjusting the height of your car seat, for a more comfortable ride, ensuring that everything fits just right.
That's a great analogy. And what's particularly impressive is this new sensor set.
Okay.
These movable and hole sensors allow you to print on pretty much any label shape you can imagine without needing that second die cut.
Wait, so you're telling me this printer can figure out the shape of the label on its own? That sounds like magic.
It's pretty close. The sensors detect the edges of the label, even if it's an irregular shape, and then the printer automatically adjusts its printing path to accommodate that.
Wow.
It eliminates the need for a separate die-cutting step, which saves you time and money.
That's incredible. It's like giving the printer X-ray vision to see where the label edges are.
Exactly. It's a game changer for businesses that need to print those custom-shaped labels, or if they want to experiment with those unique designs.
Okay, I'm starting to see why the C8000E is generating so much buzz.
Yeah.
It seems to be packed with these innovative features that address real-world challenges.
For sure. And we've only just scratched the surface. There's a lot more to explore, from the connectivity options to its ease of integration with existing systems.
Well, let's take a break here and come back in the next part to delve a little deeper into those aspects. I have a feeling this deep dive's about to get even more interesting.
Definitely. Welcome back to our deep dive into the Epson ColorWorks C8000E. Before the break, we were talking about some of the innovative features that make this printer, well, stand out. But I think it's time we kind of zoom out a little bit and consider the bigger picture here.
Yeah, I agree. We've covered a lot of technical details, but what does it all mean for the average business owner? Why should they care about on-demand color label printing?
That's a great question. I mean, we live in a world of information overload, right?
Yeah.
But the C8000E and this whole trend of on-demand printing, it's about more than just adding more information. It's about making that information better, more effective, more engaging, and more impactful.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Break that down for me.
Okay, so think about a plain black and white label with tiny, hard-to-read text. It gets the job done, but it's exactly, scream quality or inspire confidence, does it?
Definitely not. It's forgettable, maybe even a little cheap looking.
Exactly. Imagine that same product, but with a vibrant, full-color label that highlights the key features, the benefits, and maybe even a touch of the brand's personality. Suddenly, it's more appealing, more trustworthy, more memorable.
Yeah, it's like the difference between a handwritten note and a beautifully designed greeting card. Both convey information, but one does it with much more style and impact.
Exactly. And that's where the C8000E comes in. It empowers businesses to transform those ordinary labels into really powerful communication tools.
This makes me wonder, are we on the verge of a label renaissance? Will we start seeing more creative and engaging labels everywhere?
It's certainly a possibility. As on-demand printing becomes more accessible and affordable, it removes the barriers that, previously kind of limited label design.
Yeah.
Imagine labels with QR codes that link to videos, recipes, or even augmented reality experiences.
Oh, or labels with textures that you can actually feel.
Right.
Adding a tactile dimension to the product. I'm getting excited just thinking about the
It's
possibilities.
all about thinking beyond the label as a simple sticker
Yeah.
and seeing it as an integral part of the product experience.
Right.
And this gets back to that personalization trend we talked about before. Imagine getting a package and the label has your name on it, or a message that's tailored specifically to your purchase.
Yeah, that's such a simple touch, but it would make the experience feel instantly more personal, more special. It's about making that human connection.
Precisely. It's those little things that really build that customer loyalty and brand affinity.
Yeah.
But let's get practical for a moment.
Yes, let's. I'm picturing a business owner listening to us right now thinking, okay, this all sounds great, but where do I even start?
Right. Well, the first step is to kind of assess your current labeling needs and challenges. What are you using labels for right now? Are you experiencing any bottlenecks or inefficiencies? Are there any areas where you could be doing more with your labels?
So, really take a hard look at those existing processes and see where on-demand printing could potentially fit in and make a difference.
Exactly. Then consider your budget and what you're realistically able to invest in a new printing solution. Epson's ColorWorks range offers, a bunch of different models at different price points. So there's likely an option that's a good fit for your needs.
And don't forget about the ongoing costs of the ink and the label media. This can really add up over time.
Oh, you're absolutely right. It's crucial to factor those into your calculations. But remember, on-demand printing can also help you save money in the long run
Right.
by reducing waste and eliminating the need for those big label inventories.
It's all about finding that sweet spot where the benefits outweigh the costs.
Precisely. Once you've got a clear understanding of your needs and your budget, you can start exploring those different ColorWorks models and their capabilities. Epson has a ton of resources online, product brochures, case studies, even video demonstrations.
And don't be afraid to reach out to Epson directly or maybe a reseller for some personalized guidance. They can help you figure out which printer is the best fit for your specific applications, answer any technical questions you might have.
That's great advice. Having an expert kind of guide you through the process can really make all the difference. Now, speaking of technical details, there's one aspect of the C8000E that we haven't really discussed yet, and that is its compatibility with ZPL2.
CPL2? That sounds very technical. Can you break it down for us non-techies?
Of course. ZPL2 stands for Zebra Programming Language 2. Think of it as like a language that thermal label printers understand. It's basically a set of instructions that tells the printer what to print and how to format it.
Okay, so it's like a secret code that tells the printer what to do. But why is that important for the C8000E?
Well, a lot of businesses, they already use thermal printers with ZPL2.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is, the C8000E understands this language too. This means businesses can easily swap out their old thermal printers with the C8000E without having to completely redesign all their labels.
Ah, so it's like upgrading your phone but keeping all your apps and contacts. You get all the benefits of the new technology without having to start from scratch.
Exactly. That seamless integration. It's a huge selling point for businesses that are looking to move into on-demand color printing, but they don't want to disrupt their existing workflows.
Right. And this ties in with what we saw in that live demo about ERP systems like SAP, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A lot of businesses rely on ERP systems like SAP to manage their operations.
Yeah.
Inventory, orders, shipping, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And the C8000E is designed to integrate seamlessly with these systems.
Okay.
It actually has specific drivers that allow it to communicate directly with SAP.
So you can literally print labels straight from your ERP system without needing any extra software or steps. That's incredible, incredibly efficient.
It streamlines the whole labeling process.
Yeah.
Reduces the risk of those errors. And if you need even more customization or control over your label designs, the C8000E also supports ESC-Label, which stands for Epson Standard Code for Label Printers.
Okay, another acronym. I'm starting to feel like I'm learning a whole new language here.
It is a lot, isn't it?
But what exactly does ESC-Label do?
Well, it's basically a command language that gives you a lot more flexibility in designing and formatting your labels,
Okay.
like having a more advanced set of tools for creating your labels.
So if you need to add things like graphics, barcodes, or that variable data to your labels, ESC-Label gives you the power to do that.
Precisely. And for businesses that are, really tech-savvy and they want to create their own custom applications or integrate the C8000E into their mobile workflows, there are SDKs available for iOS, Android, and even web apps.
SDK. Okay, I think we've reached peak acronym level. Can you decipher that one for me?
SDK stands for Software Development Kit. Think of it as like a toolbox for developers.
Hmm.
They can use it to build software that interacts with the printer. It's like giving them the building blocks to create custom solutions for their specific needs.
So if you have a team of like in-house developers or work with a software development company, you can really push the boundaries of what's possible with the C8000E.
Exactly. It's all about flexibility and customization. The C8000E gives you the power to really tailor the printing experience to your unique workflow and requirements.
Okay, my head is spinning a bit with all this technical information.
I bet.
Can we take a step back and look at the big picture again? What's the key takeaway here?
The key takeaway is that all of these technical features, they're ultimately in service of a greater goal, empowering businesses to create better labels.
And better labels lead to better products, better customer experiences, and ultimately better businesses.
Exactly. It's a chain reaction that starts with a simple label.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the bottom line for a moment. What about return on investment, or ROI? How does the C8000E measure up in that regard?
ROI, that's the million-dollar question for any business investment. Is it worth the cost?
Well, ROI, it isn't always a simple calculation. It really depends on a lot of different factors, like your specific needs, how many labels you print, and the potential cost savings. There's no, one-size-fits-all answer.
So it's not a guaranteed slam dunk, but there's definitely the potential for a strong ROI.
Exactly. And there are key areas where the C8000E really shines. For instance, reducing label waste. That saves you money on materials and disposal costs.
Right, and by printing on demand, you avoid those rush orders or last-minute changes that can really eat into your budget. Not to mention the potential for, increased efficiency and productivity by streamlining that labeling process.
Right. And don't forget those intangible benefits. Things like improved branding, enhanced customer experiences, increased customer loyalty.
Yeah, those are harder to measure, but they can have a huge impact on your bottom line in the long run.
Absolutely. So while the initial investment in a C8000E might seem significant, it's important to consider the long-term potential for cost savings, for increased efficiency, and for that enhanced brand value.
It's an investment in the future of your business, not just a piece of equipment. But what about the learning curve? Adopting new technology can be a bit daunting, especially for businesses that are used to doing things a certain way.
That's understandable. But Epson has really designed the C8000E with user-friendliness in mind. The intuitive LCD control panel, easy-to-navigate menus, and that comprehensive user manual make it pretty easy to get up and running.
And if you do hit a snag, Epson offers excellent customer support. It's reassuring to know that there's a team of experts ready to help if you need it.
Exactly. They've got your back. So while there might be a little bit of a learning curve at first, the C8000E is designed to be accessible, even for those who aren't, tech wizards.
Good to hear. Now, I'm curious about the environmental impact. Sustainability is a big thing for a lot of businesses these days.
As it should be. And Epson has actually made significant strides in reducing the environmental impact of their ColorWorks printers. The C8000E is a great example of this commitment.
We already talked about the reduced plastic waste from those large ink pouches.
Right.
What other steps have they taken?
Well, they've also focused on reducing energy consumption and minimizing hazardous materials in the printer's construction. The C8000E meets Energy Star standards for energy efficiency, and it also complies with RoHS directives, which basically restrict the use of certain hazardous substances in electronic equipment.
So not only is the C8000E a high-performance printer, it's also a responsible choice for those environmentally conscious businesses.
Exactly. And if you're looking to reduce your environmental footprint even further, Epson offers a range of recycled label media options.
Oh, wow, so you can print green on green. I love that.
I know.
It seems like Epson has thought of everything.
They've definitely put a lot of thought into making the C8000E a well-rounded, sustainable solution.
Earlier, you mentioned the possibility of a label renaissance. Do you think the C8000E could play a leading role in that?
Absolutely. As on-demand printing technology keeps evolving and becomes more and more accessible, I think we're going to see this surge in creativity and innovation in label design. And the C8000E, with its versatility, the high print quality, and those advanced connectivity features, it's really well positioned to be at the forefront of this, label revolution.
I can see it now. Labels that are interactive, multi-sensory, and even personalized to the individual consumer.
Imagine labels that change color based on the temperature, or release a fragrance when you scratch them.
Or labels with like embedded NFC chips that let you access product information, track shipments, or even make purchases with a tap of your phone. Oh, the possibilities are endless.
It's like giving businesses a blank canvas and a high-tech set of paintbrushes, inviting them to create labels that are as innovative and imaginative as their products.
I love that analogy. It's not just about seeing the label as a functional element, but as an opportunity to really connect with those consumers on a deeper level.
Right.
It's exciting to think that we might even see labels become collectible items someday, sought after for their unique designs and artistry.
Wouldn't that be something? Limited edition labels, collaborations with artists, labels that tell a story or evoke a specific emotion. The future of labeling is wide open.
It feels like the world of label printing is finally catching up to the world of product design and marketing.
I agree. And I, for one, am excited to see what the future holds for this often overlooked but increasingly vital element of the customer experience.
I think we've explored the depths of this topic pretty thoroughly,
We have.
but I'm sure there are still some practical details, insightful tips that our listeners would find valuable.
You're absolutely right. There's always more to uncover. Let's dive into those finer points when we come back for the final part of our deep dive.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the Epson ColorWorks C8000e. We've covered a lot of ground, from the technology itself to the broader trends that are really shaping the world of label printing. But as we wrap things up, I think it's time to kind of get down to brass tacks, the nitty-gritty.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've explored the big picture, but there are always those little details, those insider tips that can really make all the difference when you're actually using this printer.
Absolutely. I'm all about the practical considerations. What are like the hidden gotchas or things that someone who's thinking about getting a C8000e, what should they keep in mind?
Well, one thing that really stands out from the source material is choosing the right black ink.
Yeah.
The C8000e offers both a matte black and a gloss black, and that choice, it impacts more than just the finish.
Yeah, I can see how that might be confusing for someone who's new to this. It seems like a simple aesthetic choice, but it sounds like it's a little more nuanced than that.
Precisely. The type of black ink you choose actually dictates which types of media you can use. The user manual has a really handy table that outlines this. So, for example, if you're planning to use a glossy paper, you're going to need that gloss black ink to get the best results.
So it's not just about the look you're going for, it's a technical consideration as well. It really makes you realize how much thought goes into even those seemingly simple decisions when you're working with a piece of professional-grade equipment.
For sure. And speaking of choices, let's talk about media again. We briefly touched on Epson's range of label media, but, there's a whole world of third-party options out there as well.
That's right. And it's easy to get caught up in that Epson ecosystem, but maybe exploring those third-party options could unlock even more creative possibilities or some cost savings.
Yeah, the key is to do your research, carefully test those different media types, and make sure that they're compatible with the C8000e and the type of black ink that you've chosen. Remember, the wrong media, well, it can lead to print quality issues, smudging, even damage to the printer.
It's like baking a cake, use the wrong ingredients, and you end up with a disaster.
Exactly. And while we're talking about those potential problems, the user manual actually does a fantastic job of outlining some troubleshooting tips. It covers everything from, paper jams to those weird error messages with really clear step-by-step instructions and diagrams.
It's almost like having a personal technician on call guiding you through any of those little hiccups you might encounter. I think that peace of mind is so valuable, especially for those businesses that really rely heavily on their label printers for their day-to-day operations.
Absolutely. And another practical detail that I think sometimes gets overlooked is the importance of proper printer placement. Sounds basic, but the environment where your C8000e is operating can have a huge impact on its performance and longevity.
Okay, help me visualize this. What would be a less than ideal scenario for this printer?
Imagine a dusty, poorly ventilated warehouse. You've got the printer shoved into a corner, covered in boxes. Not exactly a recipe for success, right?
Definitely not. Sounds like a recipe for a printer breakdown. What kind of environment does this printer thrive in?
The source material really emphasizes good ventilation, a stable temperature, and of course a clean, dust-free environment. Remember, this is an industrial-grade printer, but it still needs a little bit of TLC to function properly.
Yeah. And speaking of TLC, those maintenance routines that we talked about before, those aren't just suggestions. They're really crucial for keeping this thing running smoothly, right?
Absolutely. Regular cleaning of the auto cutter, The edge guides, pressure rollers, and of course the print head itself. That's going to prevent those minor issues from turning into major headaches down the road.
It's like taking your car in for those regular oil changes and tune-ups. You neglect those routine maintenance tasks, and you're going to end up with a costly repair, maybe even a complete breakdown.
Exactly. Now let's kind of shift gears for a moment and talk about something that wasn't explicitly covered in the source material, but it's always something worth considering, and that's security.
Security? You mean like someone, like, physically stealing the printer?
Well, yeah, physical security is important, but I'm talking about cybersecurity. In today's world where everything is connected, even a label printer can be a potential target for a cyber attack.
Wow, I hadn't even thought about that. But I can see how a printer that's connected to a network could be vulnerable if you don't take the proper precautions.
Exactly. While the C8000E doesn't have the same level of security features as, say, a network server, it's still important to take those basic precautions.
So things like setting strong passwords for the printer's web interface and making sure that your network is secure, those are good starting points.
Precisely. And if you're using the C8000E for those sensitive applications, like maybe printing labels that have confidential information on them, you might want to think about some additional security measures.
Like what? Give me some examples.
Well, you could restrict physical access to the printer just to prevent unauthorized use. Or you could look into using encryption to protect the data that's being transmitted to the printer.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's about being proactive and really thinking about those potential risks before they have a chance to become problems.
Exactly. It's better to be safe than sorry, especially when it comes to protecting that sensitive information.
Okay, I think we've covered just about every angle of the C8000E. Before we wrap up, can you give our listeners a quick recap of the key takeaways?
Absolutely. So if you're considering the Epson ColorWorks C8000E, there are three things to remember. First, choose the right black ink based on the media that you're going to be using. Second, thoroughly research and test different media options, both from Epson and those third-party ones, just to ensure compatibility and optimal print quality. And third, don't underestimate the importance of proper placement, those routine maintenance tasks, and basic security precautions.
Those are great points to remember. It's like a checklist for success with this printer.
Exactly. And remember, this isn't just about printing labels, okay? This is about transforming how you communicate with your customers, enhancing your brand, and even, kind of shaking the future of your industry.
Well said. So to our listeners, I say this. Go forth, explore, experiment, and don't be afraid to kind of push the boundaries of what's possible with on-demand color label printing.
Because as we've seen today, even something as simple as a label can have a pretty profound impact on our world.
Well, that wraps up our deep dive into the Epson ColorWorks C8000E. We've covered so much, from those technical specs to the, well, philosophical implications of this revolutionary technology. Hopefully you've gained a deeper understanding not just of the printer itself, but of the bigger trends that are shaping the future of label printing and those exciting possibilities that lie ahead. I think it's safe to say that on-demand color label printing, it's not just a fad, it's here to stay. And the C8000E, it's a fantastic example of how this technology is evolving to meet the ever-changing needs of businesses and consumers alike.
I totally agree. And, for anyone listening, this is really just the beginning of your journey. There's a whole world of information, resources, and experts out there to help you take your labeling to that next level.
So true. So keep exploring, keep innovating, and never stop asking those questions. The future of labeling is in your hands. Until next time, happy printing, everyone.